Good evening, everyone. My name is Rob Reinhofer. I'm the Shorewood School Board President. I'd like to welcome everyone here this evening. I want to give a special thanks to Mark's family for joining us here. And I want to thank the community at large, and even not just the Shorewood community, but we've had an outpouring of support not from all the surrounding communities. The school districts, they've all been calling, parents have been calling, just asking what can they do to help. So it really is a blessing to live in a community like this, so thank you. I'd like to share, you're going to hear a lot of stories about Mark and what a captivating storyteller he was. So I'd like to share my Mark story, and it happened about a month ago. We went out for a drink, we went out to Harry's, and we started around 8 o'clock or so, and it lasted hours and hours until it eventually closed. But Mark, he was such a captivating storyteller, and we just swapped stories about family, kids, and one story just, it really sort of defined who Mark is. It was the day he met his wife. He talked about the day he actually got up the nerve to ask her out. He was saying, you know, she's so far out of my league, she's not going to say yes. And he got up the nerve, he went up to her, told her she was the most beautiful woman he's ever seen, and she said yes. And the look on his face when he was telling me the story was like a little kid. He had that smile, and it was just as if he was reliving the moment. And he said he's the luckiest man on earth. And that, to me, really seemed like the theme of Mark's life. Every story he shared with me that night, whether it was about his mother, who he loved and adored, his kids, his family, his life growing up in River West, just everything, to him, he seemed like he was the luckiest man on earth to get to experience the gift that he's had. And that, you know, in times like these, you often reflect back on the gifts that people leave you, and that was one that I walked away with from Mark, is that life is a gift, and the friends and family around you are a gift. So that eventually the bartender told us to leave, and second time around told us to leave again. It's bar time. So we left, and we shook hands, and we promised we got to do this again. And we had so much fun swapping stories, because I know there was two more stories he was trying to get to. But I remember shaking his hand and saying, yeah, let's do this soon. So when I heard the news about Mark, I immediately went back to that moment, and I realized soon's never going to come. So that's my second gift. Second gift I walked away with, Mark, is, you know, appreciate the gifts you have and don't wait for tomorrow. Another story that popped into my head when I was thinking about what could I say about Mark. It was that night he shared another story about when he was a 220 student, the first 220 student at Shorewood, or the second 220 student at Shorewood Lake Bluff Elementary School. He was there for a year, and he wore that, again, that was like a badge of honor for him. He loved he was proud of the fact that he got to go to Shorewood. He talked about winning an award during one of the assemblies. It was an achievement award, and after the assembly, he went up to his teacher and said, I don't deserve this. I want to give it back. And the teacher asked him why, and he said, well, I don't live here. I'm not like the other kids. And the teacher kind of said nonsense, and Mark said that was probably the best award you could ever get. He felt like he wasn't different. He said, I'm not different. I realized that I'm not different than anyone else. And looking back, if Mark's listening right now, the one thing I'd say to him, Mark, is that yes, you are different. You've always been different. You're a special person. You've touched the lives of me and all the children in this community and all the parents. And thank you.
Good evening, friends. My name is Marty Lexman, and I'm the superintendent of Shorewood Schools. I want to share a little bit about Mark Harris as a member of the administrative team here. I want to share two stories about Mark, and then talk about why it is so important for us to gather tonight to share these types of stories with one another. So the first story is that we start each school year with a retreat for all of our administrators. We take 2 days away to learn about aspects of the work that help us grow. Before Mark's first year at SIS, our retreat included an assignment that each principal needed to complete. It was teaching the rest of us a chapter from a book called 100 Days. Mark had the chapter on developing and sharing how you develop a school vision. So when Mark showed up, he did not have notes prepared to help us learn. He didn't have a PowerPoint. He didn't have a lecture. What he did is he went to the place that always helped him understand the world and the way it works. He went to the music he loved, and he created a soundtrack. The soundtrack accompanied the chapter. And he gave each of us a copy of that soundtrack today. And the music you're listening to is from that soundtrack. It included jazz and rap and hard rock and reggae and even Dolly Parton. The songs he chose tied to the main points of the chapter, and that is how he shared his learning with us that day. And I share that story with you because this evening, that's part of how we remember Mark, through the music he loved. So another story. It's one of our finest memories of Mark, and it's at a holiday white elephant gift exchange. That's where staff members bring in gag gifts to share. Mark picked and unwrapped a rather odd gift. They're called sauna pants. Now, if you don't know what sauna pants are, well, I looked it up on Google for you, and this is what they described, and I'm quoting, "hot sweat wrap treatment for weight loss as seen on TV." So Mark did with this gift exactly what you might expect. He immediately put them on and showed them off as his latest fashion statement. So why are we sharing these stories, and why do we gather together to hear other stories about the gifts that Mark shared? It's because we're going to need them. Right now, so much of what we are experiencing is the pain of losing Mark. And we really only see the pain. But in time, the pain changes. It never goes away. The pain serves as a reminder of how much we loved Mark and how much he loved us back. But the pain does change. At first, we might notice a small pinprick in the darkness of the pain. And what we learn then is there is light on the other side of that pain. Later, as the pain opens up, we are able to see on the other side of the pain the stories and memories and inspirations that we're sharing tonight. Our stories create the light. These are the things we will need to honor Mark's legacy and continue to work on behalf of the students he loved in Shorewood. We come together tonight so we have a collective set of memories to grab onto when the pain opens up and we turn to honor the amazing work Mark did here. I want to thank all of you for joining us this evening, and in particular, I want to thank all of our presenters who are creating the light and telling the story of an amazing educator and the gifts he shared.
Good evening. I am Jan Zarin, and I'm a teacher at Shorewood Intermediate School. I served on the interviewing team to replace the intermediate school principal position, which was vacated at the end of the 2013 school year. Mark Harris was an internal candidate who applied. Mark had been the assistant principal for 4 years at the high school. Immediate reaction from the SIS staff was pure joy. We were excited to have someone who knew our district the Shorewood way and knew our students, especially since Mark would get acquainted rather quickly with our students as they transitioned to the high school. There's not much difference between a 7th and 8th grader and a freshman student. We felt confident that Mark understood our crazy middle school mentality. Mark impressed us all during his interview. However, I'm not quite sure what impressed us most: his down-to-earth and sincere answers to the questions the panel of 10 fired at him, or his bright pink bow tie that matched his equally bright pink trouser socks that popped out from beneath his pants under the table. Needless to say, Mark won us all over, and he quickly earned the job as the 7th principal of Shorewood Intermediate School. On the very first day of school, Mark welcomed and addressed the student body in the Commons. The kids immediately made a connection with the cool principal in the yellow, funky banana pants and brightly colored bow tie. The SIS staff will never forget Mark's message to the students. Each of us had been publicly introduced. Then Mark, without missing a beat, said, "The people standing around the Commons are so much more than teachers, custodians, secretaries, aides, and counselors. They are husbands and wives, moms and dads, sons and daughters, brothers and sisters, and one is even a grandma. At the end of the day, none of them should ever go home feeling yucky about something that happened at school." Many of us stood in disbelief after hearing his words. Mark got it. He truly understood the balance between working hard at our jobs and the importance of family. Mark did not stop there on day one with his inspirational words. He shared with the students the message he gave his then 6-year-old son, Cooper, for his first day of kindergarten that very same day. Mark told Cooper 3 things. 1, if you see someone sitting by themselves at lunch, get your butt up and move. 2, if someone in the hallway looks lost, help them find out where they need to be going. 3, at the end of the day, say goodbye to someone you didn't know before. Mark challenged the SIS student body to do the same. These simple challenges became known at Shorewood Intermediate School as Cooper's lessons, and they are displayed on the door from the Commons leading to the office. Just imagine, for a moment, if all of us lived our lives by Mark's simple philosophy, what better people we would all be. The students thoroughly enjoyed Mark's school spirit. He participated in every student council spirit day. Mark wore his flannel PJ pants on pajama day, wore his James Lofton football jersey on Packer day, and picked his hair out like Jimi Hendrix for crazy hair day. Mark always handled student discipline situations with honesty. He really related to the kids and their situations when they found themselves in his office. He always told them that he was not perfect and that he made mistakes every day. He wanted them to